What if I told you one of the best rock albums, post-punk albums I've heard since I started this channel is all in Spanish, and it came from the country known as Chile? Well, that happens to be the case. I'm going to be talking about the album Brea by Hesse Kassel, and I want to thank a few of you who suggested I review this. I don't know who you are, but you suggested it. You said, hey, listen to this, and I listened to it, and I'm reviewing it. I can't imagine I'm going to get a lot of views, but the views that I'm getting are what I call heavy clicks, so thank you for clicking and watching. Voy a hablar español también. I'm going to be a little bilingual here, okay? I speak French, a little bit of Spanish. Hesse Kassel es más que país negro, nueva calle. Pero es también país negro, nueva calle. It is more, much more, mucho más, much more than just Black Country New Road in Spanish, okay? That's how people pitch them to me, and I get why, because you say that and you go, oh, that's exciting. It's much more than that, but also, and this is important, it is also that. Okay? So if there's something you particularly loved, especially about the first two albums by Black Country New Road, because Black Country New Road has evolved, they are making different music now, if where you really want to be is in that space, lo siento, pero hay que hablar en español. Okay, I'm sorry. You gotta listen to this band, but it's more than that. They do a lot more than that, and I'll talk about that as well. Even if you just sort of reduce them to being a very similar band, ¿por qué hacer una revolución si ninguno la continuó? What's the point of a revolution if nobody follows it? Okay? What Black Country Road provided to a lot of people, and it's hard to define, right? Because they're not the only band who's ever done this, but I think they did it as well as anybody, okay? Is super trained musicians, tryhards. You know how tryhard is supposed to be an insult? Okay? Tento duro. I don't know how to say that in Spanish. You know how that's become an insult? Well, what if it wasn't an insult? What if really well-trained musicians, like highly trained, excellent musicians, worked together, played together, found joy in complexity, but didn't give in to the complexity, did not make the complexity the point of the music, but just a part of the music? That's what Black Country New Road. They ride and they rode what I call the nerd line. I looked this up. I believe in Chile they'd call that Linea Noña. Tell me if I'm right in the comments. Noña is a Chilean specific term for nerds, okay? Where they're right on that line. They're still cool and they're still nerds and they go between that. And if you enjoy that feeling of just excellent musicians who just need to play together, you can feel their life essence expanding in their collaboration with the people with whom they're working, then you have to listen to Hesse Kassel, Hesse Kassel. It's a German name. I'll get into that later. Now, the main thing is that what did Black Country New Road lose? Well, they lost their lead singer. So they have this whole other thing going on, and it's great, and it's going to be awesome, and their new album will probably be one of the albums of the year based on the first two singles. But they did lose Isaac Wood. Isaac Madera, and the lead singer of this Chilean band scratches that itch. So if you really enjoy, I don't know, kind of a kind of like grandiose self-loathing, sort of like earnest dryness, then I think you'll really enjoy this singer. I mean, even though I don't speak enough Spanish to understand most of what he's singing. I translated one song, or I worked on translating one song. I don't know how well I did. I'll share that with you. But do you really need it? Because what do you want, right? If you want amazingly played post-punk rock music with a laconic and engaging singer that properly eschews verse, chorus format, then this is the band for you. And the reason not to listen to it is what? They're not from England. They're not from the Brighton, from the Brixton. They're not from the windmill scene. Hey, that's great. If that's how you feel, congratulations. You're an imperialist scum. Okay? I hate to say it. But if you don't listen to music because it's not in English, you are imperialist scum. I don't make the rules. Abajo la hegemonía lingüística. Okay? Down with linguistic hegemony. I'm not saying you have to only listen to music in other languages, but if you're going to allow that to be a barrier and you don't expect, and you still expect, oh, of course, people will listen to music in English all over the world, then what you want isn't just to understand. You want to make sure that what you were born with inherently, the gift that you were given by your birth, the privilege you were given by your birth is enforced on the rest of the world by cultural force. Everything will be in English. That's not the good side of history, okay? So I think you need to learn another language in order to fight linguistic hegemony. But if you don't have the time to do that, at the very least, open your mind, okay? And do not be imperialist scum, right? I'm sorry to come at you so hard. You're here watching this video. But you don't need to know English to understand Black Country New Road. I mean, I understand English, and I don't understand a lot of their first couple albums. I don't know what he's talking about with the airplane. You know what I mean? Like, I get it, but it's a feeling. It's an emotional register that they're able to hit, and it is it resonates with anyone who's looking to hear a certain kind of frustrated, young, vulnerable masculinity along the linea noña, okay, along the nerd line. Oh, dear God, I hope Noña and Noño isn't some kind of terrible thing. I apologize to all my I actually have a lot of, it's weird. I went to high school with a Chilean guy, and his family was friends with Cristo, the artist. And I met Cristo at my brother's graduation. So there's that. The chair of my department, she was from Chile. So, I have a lot of experience with Chile. I'd like to go there someday. It actually reminds me a lot, too, of great Yugoslavian post-punk music. I don't think there's any real connection there, but just the feeling that I get listening to bands like Indexi is what Idoli is what I feel with this. So let's talk about this angry, detached, cool music. Now, the title of the album is called La Brea. I had to look it up. Do you know what La Brea means? It means tar pit. What does that mean? That means that when you go to Los Angeles and go to the best museum in Los Angeles, the La Brea Tar Pit Museum is beautiful, okay? It has drama. It has these animatronic woolly mammoths dying eternally in the tar. And when you go into the museum, there's like a wall of like 400 dire wolf heads. It is so cool. But the La Brea Tar Pits, translated, is the Brea, the tar pits. No, the tar pits. That's what the La Brea Tar Pits translate as. And the cover has this image of this face in tar. I looked it up. Chile's primary export is copper. It's not tar. They do export some tar, especially, I guess, from some of their Antarctic resources. So I can't quite tell. I got to be honest. I don't know what this album's about. I don't. I mean, I see the face that's drowning in tar in the front, but I enjoy this ignorance, revel in this ignorance, because in this ignorance you can learn something. You just know that you might learn more over time, because this album's not on vinyl yet, so when it comes out I'm going to buy it, or whatever. I'm going to keep listening to it all year. I'm going to tell my son about it, everybody. And let me give you an example. I'll give you an example song for you to listen to. Click above my high school report card, where I got a C- in French. True story. Writing needs work. That was Madame Aguilar's suggestion. We're just going to start with the first track, Postparto, which means postpartum. This is a great example of what this album is. It's a 10-minute song. There's like 9 songs, and they're all 10 minutes, and there's like 1,000 parts to every song. These guys, this has some of the most first album energy you have ever heard. They're just like, I gotta make so much music. Starts off with this grimy, rumbling bass sound and then swells into a nice little kind of prog jam. The drums are doing what I call purple haze drumming, where you have like a snare hit on like most of the quarter notes. Normally when you're playing a drum beat, you play the snare like on the 3. So when you add more snares, it creates kind of that sort of, it has that kind of sound, and the bass rumbles in, and the rhythm kind of flattens out, and we had this whole spoken word. Now I'd actually say, if I was to compare him to any British author, British singer, the lyrics actually are more Tom Yorke than Isaac Madera. Ser, matar, crear un plan. Habladuría sobre ingeniera en salud mental. I'm sorry, I learned how to speak Spanish by listening to Mexican radio in Los Angeles. .com. So excuse my accent. To be, to kill, to create a plan. Talking about engineering mental health, and all these lyrics seem to be poetica, estetica, stereo minimalista, like poetic, aesthetic, sterile or minimalist, proteína vegetal, proteína digital, vegetable protein, digital protein, crear, amar un plan, to create, to love a plan, right? So it's this whole basic idea of, like, as far as I can tell, hey, correct me if I'm wrong. Si hace faltas, correcteme. I don't know how to do the imperative. And it's all about, this, the general sense of unease and discomfort with just like to be, to kill, right? Just general disaffected lyrics. And then this piano comes in around 1 minute and 20 seconds and develops so nicely. And there's this killer bit where just the guitar is going on the offbeats, right? So if you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, the offbeats are in between the 1 and the 2, right? So it's right? So it's doing that. And then a Tool bass line comes in. I don't know if these guys like Tool. I don't know. I don't know if there's any women in the band. I think they're all dudes. So I apologize. Excuseme, chicas, en la grupo. Is chicas okay to say? Or is that a sexist term? I don't know. It was International Women's Day on Sunday, and here I am. So I don't know if they listen to Tool, but it reminds me a lot kind of that Tool energy. Again, always on the nerd line. Linnea Nonya. And then here, as far as I can translate this lyrics, love, care, to be a homeowner, to share your soul. There's a lot of stuff about being like a housewife, I think, and loving and caring and share your soul, and even a little bit of sex. So it's kind of in that OK Computer realm of like, what is the life that we're all aspiring to? Is it all nothing? Like, why are we trying to have this kind of life? And then it gets like almost like a disco beat, where remember those offbeats I was talking about? Now the hi-hats are on the offbeats. And the bass is rumbling and it's immersed, and the singer's just singing with all this emotion. Valorar, compartir tu alma, crear un sujeto con juicio normal, crear un sujeto con juicio moral. So it's all about like, sharing your soul and creating a subject with normal justice, with moral justice. These obscure terms for how to be proper. And it starts yelling. All of a sudden the hi-hats are now double style. It's full on like early 2000s like rock and post-punk disco. And when he screams the words ipso facto, like, you don't have to speak Spanish. It's not necessary. You can just feel it when this man screams ipso facto. You just feel it. And there's a full freak out after the lyrics. And there's like 6 minutes of just instrumental, just nuttiness. So many parts. I can't even describe all these parts. There's like a heavy metal jam at 5 minutes and 20 seconds. There's like a complete Black Country New Road style jam at around 6 minutes. It's cool rumbling with a great saxophone. I guess the lead singer also plays the saxophone, so that's cool. He's like Lewis and Isaac mixed together, right? See, it's so reductive. That's why I don't like doing these things. But that's the thing. How do you get people to listen to new bands without telling them who they sound like? I'll wait. I don't know how to do it. And there's this amazing bit at the very end where it's just dan, dan. I let my hair get crazy. Dan, 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 and it kind of falls out of rhythm with the snare. And I was listening to this with my 2-year-old. I was feeding her parfait the other day, which I do every morning. Sugar-free yogurt, sugar-free muesli, tons of blueberries. Very good breakfast. And so I feed her that, and we're listening to that, and I was going, Dan, Dan, and she started doing that too. It's got this really great feeling. And you think it's all over, but it's not. The saxophone comes in on top of these nice little guitar notes. These folks, our personas, just love playing music. It's very clear. And that's what I love about Black Country New Road. That's what I love about Black Midi. That's what I love about all these bands that are in this post-punk space. And listen, I love Velvet Underground, okay? I love minimalism. I love Neil Young. I love artists who kind of don't care and like sort of project a sort of effortlessness, and that's its own kind of cool. But I also love this try-hard stuff, and it's just they're trying so hard. Anova, again, as the next song, a little more, if you're really just trying to look for more stuff that's like the first 2 Black Country New Road albums, this one maybe a little bit more than the other. It also has the kind of la-la-la, kind of millennial togetherness, beautiful saxophone saxophone and piano and this guitar punctuating these riffs. Next song is Americana. I think this album is in communication a lot with feelings of frustration. Okay. Hey. A thing happens when you don't speak another language, or when you speak another language a little bit, where you consume things from that language and you don't quite know what they're saying. You pick up little things and then you fill in the blanks. So I get the feeling that there's a huge portion of this album that is discomfort with American cultural hegemony. Okay? Again, if you don't know hegemony, I haven't explained that word. That just means like singular domination. Okay? So like America has a cultural hegemony over the world, with the exception of like, I don't know, K-pop and, I don't know, Adele, okay? But in general, whatever American culture is the dominant culture, whatever the American military does, right? Just it's hegemonic. So that's what I feel in this album. But that's based on limited knowledge. But it fits with what I hear. And you know what? I don't think it needs to be corrected. You can correct me in the comments if you wish. But this is the beauty, because this is how people listen to music, everybody. There's 8 billion people on Earth? How many of them speak English? How many of those people speak English? How many native English speakers in the world? Google, can you tell me without using AI? I would love it if you could use it without telling me AI. You used AI. It's fine. No, you did, yeah. 390 million people. So out of 8 billion people, 390 million speak the language that we assume everyone's going to understand. Okay? So for those 7+ billion people, when they hear songs in English, they don't quite know what it is. Think about like Billie Jean by Michael Jackson. I barely know what that song means, and I speak English. Could you imagine what that must be like if English isn't your first language? She is not my lover. She is a kid who thinks I am the one. I'm going to dance on the floor in the round. I have no idea what he's saying, right? But you understand the feeling. Okay. So I'm really big on this kick. Ends with this kind of feedback scream. I love the singing and saxophone together. And it comes back with a nice little, I call it a little glassy jam at the end. And Tempo Muerto is the next song. Starts off as in big pounding. This album's mad epic. There's so many epic things happening in here. And then complete silence because we're in Tempo Muerto. We're in a timeout, right? This little funky jazz guitar. I mean, this funky drum line comes in where he's riding the ride cymbal super hard, and this guitar comes in. These little piano notes trace this strange melody, and the way the bass and the drums go together remind me a lot, very positively, of a different English band, Go Go Penguin. Never heard them? They're like a instrumental jazz group that's super good. And the saxophone comes in. Listen, when you listen to great bands are great bands that have to be together. These six, I don't know, 6, 7 people, I think there's 6. We'll say 6. These 6 people just have to work together. It locks together so nicely. They just create all these nice little riffs. Yo lo encuentro. I don't know what he does in Encuentro, but that doesn't really matter. Develops even further, a little funky jam, this rumbling bass and the drums, and it breaks apart again, a different part, a more soaring feel, until it breaks off until like Weezer meets Black Country New Road part, where it's like Weezer guitars and Black Country New Road saxophone all together. It's awesome. And I think he talks about avions, airplanes here. If I only killed time. I don't know. I think he says if I only killed time, but mato, I think is the past tense. But I don't know. I think mato is the past tense. I think he's saying killed time. I don't know. And yeah, I keep on thinking there's outros that aren't outros. Then we get the Musa, not a Spanish word. More of a driving feel, nice little descending ditty on the guitar over these quarter notes. The voice is super fragile. So much vulnerability in this voice. It seems like he talks about Francia, which I know that word. That means France. I don't know. Maybe he's in France. Maybe this album is partially about being from a place in the world that people don't think about a lot when they think about culture, even though there's a lot of great culture out of Chile. I don't know. And what's his name? The great soccer player who played for Marseille. He was from Chile. How am I forgetting his name? Sanchez. Yeah. One of the greats. Also played for Arsenal, I believe. Vida en Terranova starts off with a drum solo. Gotta love a drum solo here. Kind of stops and starts, alternating between freakouts and calm downs. No tengo absolutamente ninguno, and then I don't know. I know enough Spanish to catch up to know that he has absolutely nothing of something, but I don't know what that thing is, but that's okay. And then he says Cierto Mamón, and then he says the name of the band, Hesse Kassel. Now, I don't know what this means, but I'm going to take a guess. I'm going to take a guess based on my absolute ignorance. He repeats the name over and over again. Again, kind of like BCNR, kind of like Wilco, you know? But Hesse Kassel, okay, so first of all, it was the Landgraviate of Hesse. It was a part of the Holy Roman Empire, basically near Mainz, where Mainz is now in Germany, which is actually my favorite. Alexis Sanchez, that's the name of the player. I just remember it now. Because Mainz is my favorite soccer team in Germany, because OG Chemo's with them. Anyways, so like the Landgraviate of Hesse was there, and then the people from there. But it turns out, and I don't know if this is on purpose, but during the American Revolutionary War, the British rented German troops to fight the Americans from the Hesse Kassel, from that region. So that's why all the Germans who served with the British troops were called Hessian. So I don't know, maybe this is another anti-America thing. And listen, as a citizen of the United States in 2025, I am all for anti-American music. We need more of it. I mean, Americans need to make it. Everyone needs to make it. What the hell are we doing over here? This is not good. It's not good stuff right over here. The crazy thing is that I can't even say this, you know? The people who are running our country right now speak positively of Pinochet, the dictator of Chile. And if you don't know enough history to know about what Pinochet did, just look it up. Watch the first fucking YouTube video you run across, okay? Seriously, you don't even have to become an expert, but just learn who these people are supporting, okay? Anyways, it's miserable. La Tour, I don't know what this title means either. Fun stop and start beat, full on Tool kind of heavy metal freak out. You know, like I said, they're sort of like Black Country, but they're also more, not just because they're in Spanish, but they actually do more. They're sort of even more maximal than Black Country New Road. They're even less verse, chorus, bridge, chorus than Black Country New Road is. They're even more epic. They're even more cacophonous, you know? It's awesome. It's really great. The album ends with Yo La Tengo, even more kind of Tool-like, builds to more false crescendos. I really like his yelling here. It's more punkish for his compañeros and compañeras. I feel like this is more American Doubt. It feels like the lyrics are super important, but I don't know what they are, so feel free to tell me in the comments. Almost becomes like a Doors-like jam. So many crescendos and just feedback noises at the end, and that's that. So listen, if you like post-punk music, listen to Hesse Kassel. If you like rock and roll music, listen to Hesse Kassel, okay? If you don't want to be an imperialist slug, listen to Hesse Kassel. All right? Okay. Well, until next, I'd call you a slug. Slug's better than scum. That's fair. All right, till next time, there's the camera. There's the camera.